probably be dead.
If I did 24-hour podcasts, I'd have to get paid for doing this long. I don't know if I could handle that. Let's see here. So for this 24-hour segment included general talk and the Plugits guys.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, we're awake. What?
Okay. Okay. There we
But
go.
this is for charity, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, how are the donations going, by the way?
Yeah, I
haven't heard it.
was gonna look
Heard that
here.
in a little while.
We're I saw a couple come in. We had the last ones come in were there's another one. We had one come in from Max. Thanks, Max, for his contribution. We got a donation that came in from Bree, one from Bruce. We've had one that came in earlier from Andrew. He'll be on the show a little later. We had one come in from who's this? Haywood, host of the Tech Buzz at techbuzz.net. We had one that came in from Alchemy New Medical LLC. These are all that have come in today. We had one come in from Martin O'Connor. And we've had one come in from Annie McCaskey over at Slash.review. And we've had one come in from Sherry Cochran, which is, of course, my mom. So mom has donated nicely to it. So looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Really, we're way off on numbers. Last year we raised about $2,600. We're going to be lucky if we break 500 tonight. But you know, the economy the way it is, everyone's hanging on to their cash, and I understand that completely. But
yeah, we had 1,300 in the Ustream for the podcast awards. You figure one would open up their pocketbook.
Well, you know, it's the podcast awards, a portion of it. We weren't. I didn't actively promote the because that's a separate event. I tried to keep that separate, so I didn't want to feel like people were being pimped for money during that event. That one probably wouldn't have been cool. So.
Well, yeah, but still, you have 174 people right now.
Yeah, I don't know how many of those are still awake. I'm sure some of those people are asleep and just left their computers on.
I can see that.
Now, I was not around for the results earlier. How many awards did the Twit Network win?
They got a few.
I was assuming there was at least.
Leo won.
There's always a few.
Yeah, Leo won. Security Now did. Munchcast won. What else?
Gizcast.
Yeah, and I keep saying Jizz. The Giz.
Yeah, we laughed pretty hard
yeah,
about it earlier.
The Jizz. The Jizz.
The Jizz.
Yeah, that was great earlier.
Yeah.
Mr. Dick DiBartolo.
They were blasting me, man. They were blasting me. I saw that on IRC, man. This guy doesn't know how to talk. I'm like, okay, yep, come on, you stand up, you get in here. So yeah, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, so I think 4 or 5. They cleaned up. They have such a huge man. They have a big audience. Leo's the king, as far as audience members goes on anyone creating new media.
They really just.
And all it takes is Leo saying, hey, go over to Podcast Awards and vote for all these shows in this category. That's all he's got to say. That's worth 5,000 votes in itself. There was days that the voting on the system I was just blown away by the number of votes coming in. And shows that I didn't think were going to get many votes got huge numbers. I'm like, whoa, I need to talk to these guys after this is all over. So some of these shows had some really engaged audience members. So, it's largely we try to not make it a popularity contest, but it definitely helps to have a big audience because that's one of the multiple factors that we use in the grading sheet. And I don't make any secret about this grading sheet. It's probably a good thing for me to talk about, and you guys can actually know what we look for. And when we're actually doing the grading, let me bring up the top secret folder here, and I'll actually I'll actually open up a grading sheet. I've talked about this before, so it's not a secret. But there we go. Right folder. Oh, is that? No, I got to go to my shared drive. Podcast Awards. All right. As an example. Oh, that's the wrong damn thing. Yeah, I gotta get dug in deep enough to the. Where is that? I buried the folder somewhere. I've got like multiple data files here.
Super top secret.
Okay, here we go. The number of nominations make up 40% of the total points. And then there's a variety on a scale of 1 to 100. So the nominations received is 40. That's the most points you can earn for that. If your RSS feed is visible, so here's the top secret formula. RSS feed visible on a website, you get so many points. If your RSS feed validates, you get so many points. If you have an iTunes feed visible on your website, you get so many points. If you have a contact email on your website, you get so many points. Media player, download link, that's worth some points as well. If you have branding, basically you have something more than a default WordPress logo, you get some points. And then we looked at the show notes. So, listen to the content and let's see if the show notes on the webpage are really a match what was said in the show. And then we make sure the content matches the show about page. If the about page says we do a podcast about blah, 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 then we listen to the show, the reviewer does, and says, okay, the show listened to the relevance. And we give a lot of points for content relevance because a lot of shows say their name is the Gaming Cast, and they do everything but talk about gaming. Delivering content, in other words, are they speaking? Are they delivering good content? Are they joking around? How close are they staying to message? We give some points on that, and that's really kind of a low point number because that can be open to interpretation. We try to stay away from that. And then sound quality. We just basically look and see how it sounds to make sure it doesn't sound like they're talking through a pipe straw or a telephone line or something like that. We give points for sound quality. And that really is basically it. That's how each site is judged when they're reviewing sites. Now, I don't know if you guys saw my post that I made. If you see the post I made, it was a study that we did, and I'll bring that up and we'll talk a little bit about that. And it's a pretty.
Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember reading that?
I remember getting that in the email, I believe, in part of the group. I think we got that email and actually we read it, the whole thing. I remember it.
Well,
that was a good email. That was a really good study.
Yeah, the percentages were kind of interesting. I can't remember any of them exactly offhand, but it was funny. The percentage of sites that didn't have working RSS feeds, which is kind of like your bread and butter.
Yeah,
blew my mind.
Almost. It was really interesting to see because that's the first actual sort of statistics that I've seen personally for that kind of stuff. It was kind of it was very interesting.
Yeah, we did.
You would think something so simple would be a priority.
Yeah, we looked at 2,381 sites on a multitudes of level. A team of folks down in the Philippines did this for me, and we used some automated processes as well. But 21% of shows that we reviewed had invalid feeds. 59% had feeds with errors but were valid.
Really?
Yeah. 51% had an RSS icon on their default landing page that was a blog feed only. Didn't go to their podcast feed. 21% had an RSS icon on their default landing page that was podcast ready. They were truly good to go. 23% had a podcast RSS feed buried on a subpage in their website. We had one guy that they pointed out to me specifically that tried to mask his RSS feed so that people could not determine what his true RSS feed was on his website. I actually went over to this guy's website and dug through to figure out what he was doing with the code, and he actually had a PHP process running to mask his RSS feed. He did not want people leaving his website. I was just blown away.
That sounds very, very odd.
It's totally bizarre. Obviously, he has a big listening audience.
He buried his RSS feed so nobody could leave? I don't
No,
understand.
so no one could actually. You could not. He had a nice big RSS button on the page, but when you clicked on it, it loaded another page that had all of his content, looked all pretty, but it did not actually show you what the RSS feed was. You could not subscribe via RSS to that. You could click on the iTunes link and subscribe, but that's how we end up finding the what the RSS feed was. There's a way you can ping iTunes, and iTunes will give up the RSS feed. It'll tell you what the feed is it's pulling. So that's how we finally figured it out. But here's the thing that is even more shocking. 81% had iTunes on their site. So obviously iTunes is, everyone thinks they got to have that, which they do. But and 93% had a visible iTunes subscription icon somewhere on their website. But only 6% had a visible Zune Marketplace icon on their website. We're seeing last 2 years has been a huge number of listeners come in from Zune. So 94% of the podcasters are really deciding that they don't want another 13 or 14% of listeners on their show. Even in the nominees that were in the 220 show list, a large majority of them did not have a visible email contact on their website. It just seems to be a standard. And many that do have this auto response thing is, hey, thank you for calling the show. We'll get to your email sometime. Boy, do I, as a listener, feel very important for that,
Yeah.
Your call is not important. to
Yeah,
us.
that's exactly what that says. Go away. Don't talk to us, 14% had
Better
a
things to do.
Now, I'll tell you, I have an auto response system, but only to tell people that I'll respond within 24 hours. Because I think that if people don't get a response in a few hours, sometimes they don't like that. And I'll have someone email me again 12 hours later and ask why I didn't get back to them. So
Yeah.
when someone sends me an email, they do get an auto reply that simply says who I am, what I do, and then I'll respond within 24 hours. And I don't think people mind that. I think they like that.
So, going on, 14% had a newsletter sign-up page. 11% had a call-in number. 88% of the websites had good branding. 59% had less than one paragraph of show notes for the past 5 podcasts. How do they expect Google to find them? 51 had a physical download link on their website. That means 49% of the people, you couldn't download the podcast if you tried. And this is what I thought was completely amazing. This is the thing that was really important to me. Because I kind of expected the other stuff. 71% were creating audio only. And 9% were creating video only. 20% of those were creating audio and video. So you're following me. 23% were the number of podcasters that were blogging as well as, that were doing blogging as well as podcast content. So 23% was the number of podcasters that were blogging as well as doing podcast content. 19% were creating audio, video, and blog post. So, and here's where it really rolls down. The thing rolls down. 66% of total nominations were shows that were creating audio, video, and blog post. If that doesn't tell you something, if you're not doing audio, video, and blogging, you have a less than 1 in 3 chance of being nominated in a following year for an award. 3% of sites were mobile phone ready. And I'm like, whoa, that blew me away. Of course, I'm guilty of this one too. 37% did not have their shows listed on Blueberry. 51% did not have their shows listed on Podcast Alley. 14% did not have their shows listed on podcast.com. And here's the thing that really blew me away. 41% had a Twitter link and 53% had a Facebook link. But yet, you go up and look at how many actually had an RSS icon on their website. And they were more worried about Twitter or Facebook than they were their RSS feed. So, a lot of room there for people to grow. And people wonder why their shows aren't growing. They really do.
I absolutely agree.
Hey, I'm gonna have to call right back in. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, I'm gonna call back from in the studio. My wireless is messing up.
All right, no sweat.
It's funny you mentioned some of those things, Todd, because we were listening to your show. I think it was around 6:30 or 7 our time, and you made a mention that mobile is taking off, and when people hear it, they don't really piece it together, but it really is, and you need to take the vital steps to prove that it's going to do that. And like for instance, our contacts lead right to our phones.
Yeah.
If you email us, it goes right to our phone, so we can see it anywhere we are and get back to our listeners in a reasonable time, so they don't feel like they're wasting their time listening to us
Yep.
because we appreciate them.
Yep.
And a lot of podcasts just don't do that, and it's unfortunate because with the way the internet is now, you have such an opportunity to get to your base much easier than you ever could even 3 years ago.
Yep.
It's just unfortunate that you have those statistics, and granted some websites aren't mobile ready, and that's coming with learning how these platforms operate, but just the ability to get back to your people in a timely manner so they don't feel like they're wasting their time putting all their effort into listening to your hour, 2 hour, 3 hour podcast, depending on how long they are, how often they are. It's like a slap in the face to the listener base, I think.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we're going to see if this actually did it. Let me see if we're actually able to come back up on TalkShoe. Because it looked like it cleared everything out. What are we going to do? Come on, baby. Talk to me. Oh.
Still nothing?
Yeah, but I'm going to try it on a different browser. I got a Windows Vista machine here. See what happens with it. Yep, nothing yet. Anyone else come in? Oh, someone came in somewhere. Are you running that other laptop in the room? I'm talking to my daughter.
No,
You're
not
watching.
us.
I'm talking about the daughter. You're watching it here.
Oh.
You what wireless are you on? She's got my Mac over there, and she's watching the stream. I'm like, what bandwidth are you using? Are you using the raw stream? Oh, get off that. I don't want you using Stream Machine. I want you on raw voice. I can't say it right now. It should be in there. It should have saved it. You should be able to switch right to it. It shouldn't ask for a password. Bring it here. Yeah, they want me to tell the password when I'm on the air.
That's not
Bring
going
me
to
the
work too well.
laptop.
I don't understand why not. Hey,
I'm waiting.
Just to Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're waiting for Kerry to come on. We haven't. I don't know what happened to him tonight, and so I've reached out to him on email, and not sure exactly what's going on there.
So you're stuck with us.
Yeah.
Huh?
do you want me to read another code?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Am I back?
All right.
I think I'm back.
This hour's code is computer, COMPUTER. Go over to podcastmadness.com, enter that in for a chance at some great prizes. You can do 23 codes for one email address, but only one email address per code, of course. And, go over to podcastmadness.com and follow on Twitter at Podcast Madness. We're going to have a lot of other contests down the road, so.
So let me
I'm
look
entering the codes.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're not eligible.
Oh.
Yeah. What? Oh, he's just pulling your hide.
Well, that's good because it's too late at this point.
Yeah, we put them in. We've been putting everyone in.
Shut this down.
Good.
Put it on
Keep
the
doing
charger. It's almost dead. Be careful. Yeah, you can use each code. You can use each time on the same email. So don't worry. If you use your email 3 or 4 times with different codes, you can do that.
Like next hour's code is business, and oh wait, I said it already. Shoot.
That's funny.
Am I sounding okay now?
Yeah, you're sounding fine. So,
Awesome.
oh, what was that?
Didn't sound good.
Yeah, I'm gonna minimize or take out a full screen for a second.
Oh, I look bright.
Yeah, that's one of our
Turn down my.
guests that's going to come on later from Australia. He's just adding himself to the system. Okay, we're going to try on a different computer and see if we can get Ustream to come alive. I'm going to go in via a different IP. I mean, TalkShoe, get TalkShoe to come alive. Maybe they'll.
That was interesting.
Yeah, it's 4:30 in the morning, and there are people singing outside of our window on the second-story apartment. I'm scared.
They're drinking.
Christmas carols.
What are they
It must
drinking?
be.
I want. Or what have they been?
Sounds like Spanish, so probably tequila.
Oh yes, probably. Yeah, I tell you,
Feliz Navidad.
I am definitely a I like tequila. I'm a tequila connoisseur, as long as it's 1800.
Well, what?
As long as
18
it's 1800.
Oh wow! I'm gonna have to teach you tequila when we get together and see you.
I drink other kinds of tequila, but
Good.
ice cold tequila is kept in my freezer at all times.
No complaints there.
All right, let's see what happens on a different machine. Is it going to cooperate?
Jeffrey, we are now following you on Twitter.
Uh-oh.
Be
Hey,
afraid.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you get the DM on that? I'm using this really cool system called Twit something or other to make sure that you're not a bot.
Hey Jeffrey, I'm going to bounce off the conference call line for a minute. Just hang on there. I'm going to try to see if I can resurrect TalkShoe. So I'll be.
Good
You
luck.
just hang out there. I'll be back.
It's always fun when Todd's video feed freezes for a second.
Yeah, it scares me.
He looks like a robot.
Yep.
There you go.
I love taking over. I think this is fun. Should
All right.
get to do this more often.
All right, that did it, folks. TalkShoe is alive. So any of you that,
Yay! Round of applause.
yeah,
TalkShoe is alive.
That's the cake. Doo-doo-doo.
Recorded live.
there we go. So everyone can.
Oh, there's that lovely TalkShoe intro sound.
Yay.
So everyone can bounce out of the other conference call number and can come back into TalkShoe, and we can. Now I'm not drinking beer. I don't want any of that. She's bringing me a beer. How about the Perrier though? I'll drink that.
Got a little Don P up in there.
She said, "You thirsty, Dad?" I'm like, "Yeah." So she brings me a Corona. I'm like, "That's the last thing I need at this point." So yay, we're back up on TalkShoe. So
Yay.
yeah, absolutely.
I think we should play a game where everybody takes a shot when somebody says podcast.
Oh man, no. You guys can. You guys can. I'll watch.
That would certainly be interesting.
Jeff, in the Ustream chat room, somebody has asked for the name of the thing you're using to avoid Twitter bots.
Yep. I didn't catch the name.
The Twitter bots.
He said he had something that would prevent bots from spamming his Twitter site. But I didn't catch the name of it.
Who was saying that?
Person in the chat room
Someone in
wants
the
to
chat
know
room
what
said.
it is. Yes.
Jeffrey, what are you using to... Oh. I think Jeffrey is making the move back over to
yeah,
TalkShoe.
that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
So those of you on
Well, good. I
don't know
TalkShoe,
of
you guys
anything
must
to-
be listening to the stream. You guys can dial in now. And Bruce, are you here? So I see Bruce, but I don't
Sounds
see
like
him
a no.
dialed in.
Bruce, where you at,
Ah, very weird.
homie?
So I don't know what's going on. Well, I see everyone. No one's got a, how you see the blue line besides their name when they're actually dialed in and they can chat. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We know that well.
Yes, you do. Abel Avilafane is saying you guys have to find Leo at CES. He'll be there with Twit Crew, and he's going to try broadcast live the parties in Vegas. We're going to be broadcasting live from the NBC Universal Studio, or NBC Universal Stage. Both Saturday and Sunday will be on from, first day will be on from 4 to 5 Eastern. No, 4 to 5 Pacific. The second day on Sunday will be on 3 to 4 Pacific. So we'll actually have some live streams going from Vegas and having various companies come in and talk about their products and stuff. So are they going to let you keep the... We're going to be making the recording right there at the event. And we'll be streaming live. They're providing, basically internet connection, lights, and everything else. But, yeah, that's property of... It'll be property of Andy Todd and Jeffrey, or the Tech Podcast Network. So we're going to be doing the same thing that Techzilla did last year from CES. So if you basically Google Techzilla and CES, you'll see some of their video coverage. I don't know if we'll be as slick as them because, Revision 3 is close. They could bring a truck with all their gear. The rest of us are coming in, we're coming in via airplanes and shipping FedEx. Yeah, my clock is a little bit ahead, but the time is right. I haven't synchronized it in probably 5 months, so it's a little digital sign. It's run a little quick.
It's bar time.
Yeah, that's right. It's bar time. So okay, Northern Virginia is on the call. Who's in from Northern Virginia?
Hey, it's Ray, the produce picker you've seen in the chat room.
Ah, good. Now we're gonna have fun because everyone's in
Yes.
TalkShoe. We're gonna be able to have some more conversation here. So very cool.
I like the cool hold music when you left me on the other line. It was some disco 70 porn music. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's freeconferencecall.com.
Ah,
So, well, let me see
Suppose
here.
you get what you pay for.
Let's not shed any more people on TalkShoe. Let's get something cranked up here and going where we can have a little fun. And have you guys
Let's
picked out
talk about some tech or something.
Have you guys picked out your Christmas presents for your tech gear yet that you want?
For ourselves,
Yeah, every geek.
there's always a long-running list, but I just treated myself to, actually, you talked about the Heil PR40, so I think I've bought some of my own gifts recently. With the Heil boom arm that you see there in your video, I've got that as well, and a bunch of new toys for my podcast studio, so I think I'm good.
So you end up buying a PR40?
I did get the PR40. I got an Edirol R-09 to go with it, so I'm not recording on the computer. Everything's running through the mixer into the Edirol, and I get a really clean sound.
So,
I do love the condenser. I came from an Audio-Technica condenser, which
Right.
is beautiful for my voice. But I have a train that goes almost virtually through my backyard and other sounds that generally a podcaster runs into when they record from a home studio. And it's really nice. The Heil knocks down. It gives you that power of the dynamic mic, which knocks down that external noise. And I do like it for that. I mean, I do have to crank up the gain where I don't have to do that on a condenser. But, so far so good.
So what was you picked up an Edirol what?
Oh, Edirol R-09 digital audio recorder. So it's 24-bit, 96 kilohertz wave MP3 recorder.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up on the screen right now.
Yeah, it usually goes for about $3.99. And I found on Amazon, I got it for like $250. Ran into this amazing deal, and this allows you to record into that to a WAV file, high quality file, and so it doesn't introduce any of the noise that you might get out of a computer.
Yeah.
So the noise floor is just zero.
They make real good stuff. They came out with some of the very best handheld recording gear very early on, and the RO9 is their latest rendition of this. But yeah, I really like this device. This is a great interview device. You can also use it as a primary recorder. One thing that I've done, and I don't do it anymore, is I actually used to use a Marantz PMD 690, I believe, for a backup machine, and I think that's the number. I don't even know if Marantz makes that anymore. The original one that they came out with, let's see here, is that the? Yes, if you find one of my early reviews of this, it's not. I must have a 670 or 660. Andy uses a 690, I think.
Yes, he does.
He uses a 660 or he uses a 690.
I think it's a 690.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying the Edirol. I mean, you just put it in your pocket and go. It's got the 2 condenser mics on it, and like you said, it's really great. Set it down on the table between 2 people and capture that, sort of ambient noise that you get for whatever location you're at, but it also works great to record your podcast right into it. So it's got a lot of great purposes. I hooked in a lav from my Sennheiser wireless system the other day, and went and gave a speech at the GV Expo here in D.C., and got a podcast episode out of it. So it's really handy.
What do you guys do with your shoes?
We completely forgot that you could still see us.
That's right, I can. I can see your shoes. I'm watching the guys in the. I've got a secondary screen where I can see these guys, and they got their shoes off. They're doing something. I'm not quite exactly sure what you guys were doing, but let's see if I can.
We were imitating throwing the water bottle at the TV.
Oh. Did you watch the video? So was that classic or?
No, we haven't yet.
Oh, you haven't.
We don't want to have 16 voices in our head.
So that's more than normal.
So Dale, are you on? I see you've dialed in.
Oh.
Dale in Talk Show, are you up?
Is he the strong silent type?
I don't know. He's dialed in though. He's on Geek. He's got the capability to. I think I know who this is too. So, yeah, this PMD 660 that I have actually sits back here on the shelf collecting dust, and I don't remember it being this expensive. But I've got my mom one. She uses it for doing family interviews. We've actually been doing like this family history project, where we get the elders of the family and they tell just about everything that they can absolutely remember about how they met, where they, just get this whole family history down. And then I actually did my grandfather and grandmother on my mom's side, who were 99 and 98 respectively before they passed away. I actually got about 10 hours of high-def video of just them talking about everything from like 1907 forward. And those, I don't know what you guys think about family history and stuff, but it's kind of like a little project I'm doing. I think would be cool, or it's, collecting all this data, then, doing all kinds of, research about, people that have lived 100 years ago. That's all good and well, but I want stuff to know what's happened in current history, so when my kids are older and interested in this stuff, they can go back and listen to it and have some retrospect or have some thoughts. So, obviously this box here is a little overkill, but it's basically, I got a free one from Marantz because I complained so much about this initial model that came out because the amplifier in it was crap. And so they sent me a second one. So my mom got the one that the amplifier wasn't so good, and I took the one that they sent me and used that as a backup device. But so what else? What did Plugits guys? What did you guys buy yourselves for Christmas already? I know you bought yourself some sort of techie gear.
Yeah, I got well, it was an early Christmas gift because we went to Miami for a convention, so I bought myself a new Canon HG20 high def camera.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
really?
good stuff.
What
Yeah, let me
model
see
was
that
it?
thing. The HG20.
Oh,
We can
yeah?
That's the
model it
classic.
in front of the camera.
Oh, so let's go over and look at a Canon HD20.
We like it a lot. I guess on
It's a
top of
big
that, I
one
also
for,
bought a whole new computer system to do recording, editing, what have you on. Yeah.
Actually, we kind of got some early Christmas presents from Microsoft and AMD.
Yep.
A little earlier this year.
Yeah.
The Ready to Launch tour. They invited us to come, so we went and we won. Like they're giving away 4 of the Phenom Black Edition quad-core processors, and we won 2 of them.
Wow.
Just between the 3 of us. Yeah, we got some dirty looks,
Yeah.
but it is what it is.
Let me show you guys the. You guys are going to be pissed. Wait till you see this.
Uh-oh.
I want you to get your Google thing ready. You guys just got to Google this yourself. The JVC GY dash HM100U.
QuickTime native MP4 work right in Final Cut. Beautiful.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that thing.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't talk to me. I don't want to.
Oh, nice one.
This camera is the bomb. Now, of course, this video shot here is being shot with a Z1U, a Sony Z1U, and this one here is a Sony. I switch it. H1AU. Don't move the camera. And so these 2 cameras that are actually in process up here have been our workhorses at CES the previous years. We'll take the Z1U back. We'll take the Z1U back to Vegas this year, and we'll take this new JVC. And what I like about it is now we're going to be completely digital. This thing's amazing. It has 32 meg SD cards, and you just pop the card out, and there is your content. You can hot swap these babies while you're recording. The only thing I don't like about this is it eats batteries like it's nobody's business. So I actually have bought 6 batteries so we can run a full day of shooting content, and 2 extra chargers so that I don't have to spend, get up 2 o'clock in the morning and change batteries out.
Smart.
Now, how long will how long will one of those batteries last for?
They say 90 minutes, but
Oh.
but my experience so far has been more like 70 minutes. And so, obviously we'll be turning the camera off in between, but I can leave my Sony on. The 6 batteries were, I bought in bulk, and I actually bought third-party batteries. I did a lot of research online, called the folks at B&H, found out what everyone's buying, and instead of spending $90 a battery, I spent like $56 a battery for the ones I bought that were replacement. They have a little higher wattage level, and everyone's recommending the specific batteries. But the actual data recorder, or they actually call it a data battery. It's what JVC calls them. Yeah, they're actually they say data battery on them. And this is the battery that came with the camera. Oops, wrong camera. So that sucker those are 90, and I don't want to buy those. You know what? The
Right.
Sony Z1U, in years past, I carry 3 with me during the day, and never a full day of shooting, never had burned 2 batteries on my Sony. In a whole day, on off, interview after interview, and never burned two complete batteries in a day. But when I took the JVC to an event, I had 2 batteries, and I didn't get through the entire event, and I was dead. I was beyond pissed because I couldn't finish my shoot, and it was at one of my kids' event. But right there, I knew. I came home, was doing research, and everybody said, "Oh, you'll get 90 minutes out of those batteries." Yeah, right. It doesn't happen. No.
Speaking of which, are you
We,
going to pull some video off of that tricorder?
Well, we're down to 123 megs left there, Jeffrey. So I'm watching it. We'll have to do it here at some times. Let me look at 123 gig. Excuse me. Let me look at the schedule. When do I want to do that? I probably should do that soon. What we got to do is we got to go ahead.
At some of the conventions that we've done, we kind of ran into some battery problems too, because I mean we're filming like all day, and we came up with this little system. It looked hideous. I mean, it was terrible, but it did the job. We took this little portable car jumper.
Yep.
That had just like a huge capacity, stuck an inverter in the DC port.
Yep.
And then plugged our camera right up to that.
Oh,
and
cool.
I mean, literally put it in a little backpack so we carried it around with us.
It was pro.
And it did the trick, man. It didn't even drain that battery at all, running it almost all day.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, that worked like a champ.
Yeah, actually, I had one of the other guys, the convention people actually hired to film, come up, and he was like, wow, that's a really great idea. And I was like, I know.
I think the biggest challenge with doing these shoots is what we find is you never can go with too much gear, but then you gotta do the trade off on what you want to hump, and
Yep.
that becomes the thing that really, if you don't bring it, then you're in for a very long day, really.
Because then you need it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's Murphy's Law.
And
it's like here's the contrasting thing. We had the camera, and then we had a monopod for the camera, but then if we would have had a tripod, it would have made things a little bit more stable. But it wasn't. It was okay. I mean, it wasn't perfect by any means. But on the same token, we had Todd brought that little light panel. What was that? What's that panel that you got?
Yeah, I have a full size light panel. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
not a
but
light
we
panel.
never-
It's one of these. It's
Got it.
yeah, the original light panel.
But
it's
we
heavy.
never used it during the shoots. So
Yeah, and
Heavy.
it's too heavy. But so this year I'm gonna carry the micro panel, and put it on when we need it, and it's 4 AA's. I don't have to hump the batteries all the time. So, all right, we're gonna try something a little bit. How should we call it? We're gonna try to move some media off the TriCaster. While the TriCaster is streaming, this is either going to turn into something that will work, or all of a sudden we'll get pixelated video, and so we have to move it, or we're going to run out of space for the show. Let's try moving just one file to begin with, and
Drum roll, please.
and see what happens here. And I got a 1 gig Ethernet here, so here we go. And are we still online? It looks like we're.
looks
I
and
think so.
sounds
I
good.
still hear you.
Yeah,
We're doing good here.
Yeah, we're still on, and it's taking a little longer to copy, but I don't care as long as it takes a while. What were you asking? Huh? Oh, don't worry. Why don't you go to bed? No, she doesn't want to go to bed. She's going to miss something. She's been listening in all quietly. My 13-year-old is. So, boy, I wonder what happened to Carrie tonight. This is very interesting that he's not available, and I need to make sure we're not missing the schedule here on anything. We're at 3 a.m. Actually, what time are we? We're 5 a.m. Eastern, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're still here.
So we're gonna need to. I need to actually open up the one of the Skype channels. We're gonna have Biz Growth Live is supposed to come in next. So, if you don't mind, why don't we open up GNC Pod 1 so we can get those guys in for the next segment here.
Sounds
And
good. I will talk to you later. Have
hey,
fun with
hey,
this.
thanks for hanging out. And yeah, come back and a little later. If they don't show up, we'll basically open things back up.
I will be watching you guys from work today.
Okay, great.
See you later.
So
Peace out, Cub Scout.
is the Biz Growth Live guys? Is the Biz Growth Live guys around? Are they up on the stream? Because it is your time.
Wake up.
Yeah, I'm looking at their. Yeah, they confirmed, so they should be here. And a call's coming in, so it auto answered. Hello, good morning.
Hi Todd, it's Krishna Day here.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. You're doing really well. I can't believe how awake you look.
Well, I'm surviving. I've had a shower. I am on my first Red Bull for the show, and so far so good. We'll see how long that lasts, with 6 hours to go. And if you would, you may want to just bring your webcam down just a little bit so we get you more centered in the shot. That actually probably will look better. And so one of my mainstays of the show did not show up tonight, but we've been having fun. The guys from Pluggets are on the other line, on the other Skype call. And
hi everybody.
So
hi.
Hello.
So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your show?
Yeah, well, I actually have several shows, and in fact, my main one is called Biz Growth Live, where it's been going since 2005, and I've been interviewing authors and experts in the world of marketing and social media. So it's been fantastic in terms of a way to connect to people across the globe. But I also do a few other shows, and in fact, Todd, you would know one of the people who I do a show with. It's one of the people who's very strong over at Blueberry, and that's Anna Farmery.
Oh, she is absolutely one of my most favorite people in the whole world.
Yeah, she was on here last year.
Yep. If I want a bar drinking friend, someone to go drinking with, she is a riot to be with. Her and her good friend that does the Wiggling Away podcast as well. So yeah.
Yeah, that's Heather Gorrinch, who does Wiggly Wigglers. Well, the three of us do a podcast. We've been off air for a few months recently for one reason or another, but we are the podcast sisters. So we meet via Skype, and they're both in the UK in different places, and I'm here in Ireland. And then I do another podcast, which is all to do with human resources. Or human remains, as you might want to call it, in the past, but that was my whole area of expertise before I set up my own business. So I have got a program called Talking HR, where we look at new trends and technology and how that interacts with people at work. And then on top of all of that, we do other series for other people, and particularly in terms of helping people get their podcasts out to perhaps promote conferences and events and so on like that. But yeah, it's in fact, I have to say that due to your show last year, this 24-hour podcast, I managed to persuade, in fact, another fantastic woman. Her name is Roz Savage. You interviewed Roz because she's doing her epic trip at the moment across the ocean, and I had the opportunity to talk to her. And she came on. She was my first guest of 2009, and she is absolutely an inspirational woman. If you haven't come across her, I'm sure many of your listeners would know her, because I know Leo Laporte actually has been helping her with her podcast, but you'll find her at rodsavage.com, and she's an absolutely terrific woman and a true inspiration in terms of looking to make a change to our world by rowing across, literally single person handedly across the ocean, and yet podcasting and video podcasting and blogging and on Twitter and on Facebook, even from the ocean. So,
you know, when Roz was here in Hawaii getting ready to do the next leg, of which she's, of course, just within, I think, the last month and a half or so finished, she came out to the house here, and we gave her a small check to help cover some of her some of her cost as she was making her crossing. Her satellite time is very expensive, and she is a woman that will not take no for an answer. She is quite amazing. It's a pleasure to know Roz, and I've had her on interviewed her a couple of times. I haven't had a chance to talk to her since she's gotten back. I think she's actually in Copenhagen this week at the same time as the environmental things going on there, and maybe that's over already. I don't know, but I know she was going to go to Copenhagen, and her book was being released. So, yeah, absolutely amazing story. And I guess next year or 2 years from now, she's going to try to do her next leg from, where did she land? What was the island? Can't remember the island that she's landed at, but she's going to make the final row to Australia. And but yeah, pretty amazing story. It really, really was. So I tell you, those of you that if, you're connected with all the right people. So it's a small world in this space, and I haven't talked to Anna in a while, and hope she's doing well. She's on a couple of our advertising campaigns, and I know that we write her a check every month. I guess that's the most important thing.
Well, in fact, through Anna, I got to know about the blueberry community. So thanks again for all you do, and to Angelo as well. In fact, I'm about to reinvent one of my podcasts, and we'll be working closely with you guys. So thanks for all that you do. And in fact, talking about Twitter, which is I think what we're going to perhaps potentially talk about in terms of to tweet or not to tweet, as that is the question in this section.
Right.
I did send you a tweet there to say those statistics that you just shared from your your podcast awards were absolutely amazing, and I've even sent you a Twitter message. I'm not expecting to reply to it yet, but maybe a little later this week to say I'd love you to come on to one of my shows to talk about podcasting best practice, because there was some really interesting statistics, and particularly in terms of marketing your podcast. That's what I was listening to, some fantastic tips in that piece that you did in this last hour.
Yeah, I try to. I've done this little study every year, but not, and it's usually been me doing it, and it just got too much work. So this year I decided to hire it out and have it done. And I'm supposed to release a part 2 to that article. I just haven't had time to put it out yet. But I think people are going to find part 2 to be as fascinating as the first part. So maybe I can get that out in the next couple of weeks.
Some really good tips within that in terms of how you could get more listeners to your podcast if you listened within things that you were sharing, the statistics. It was very, very informative. So hopefully we might persuade you to come on to, if you have time, or maybe Angelo to come on to one of the shows and talk about podcasting best practice, and particularly marketing your podcast. But there were some terrific tips within that. And I was looking at the list myself thinking, I need to improve some things.
I think we all do, and I think it's all a work in progress. And for me, it was a little bit of an eye-opener, too, because I need to do a couple things, too. So we're not all perfect, and but we all, I think we all try to work, try to do the best we can, and it's just a matter of time of, finding the time to make it happen. For those of you that want to know what this list is, if you go over to podcastconnect.com and scroll down the page, you'll find basically it's my annual article on basically kind of state of the podcast sphere. And again, it's at podcastconnect.com. So on during this 24-hour podcast, I've been sending out automated Twitters. And obviously I don't Twitter this much when I'm actually not doing an event like this. I might Twitter a couple of times a day, and I try to do a good mix-up of, I twit a lot of business stuff, but the people that are following me kind of expect that, and giving updates on what we got going on with advertising. But there is definitely that fine line there, right, to being commercial and actually trying to pimp a product or service, and at the same time, being personable. I guess that's a better word for it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where some people have taken offense, I think, in the past. And, I've been on Twitter a few years now. I'm not sure how long you've been on Twitter. I'm not, in terms of how many years you've been using it. I know Blueberry are also on Twitter as well from your organization. But one of the things that I've certainly noticed is perhaps like in the last year and a bit, then some people who were on Twitter initially started to get a little bit concerned when they saw marketers getting on Twitter. And I certainly saw a lot of internet marketers getting on using Twitter as part of their online strategy, but particularly in terms of not being in conversation and engaging. And I know that many people want to be in conversation with people who are there, and some people are able to do that really well. And one of the key questions I find when I teach social media programs is really a lot of people will look at Twitter and say, I'm either on it, but I just don't get it, or I'm not on it and I don't get it.
Right.
And it's not until you actually look at, well, is Twitter right for you, which is really what I was suggesting in that question that I'd suggested to you, Todd, about to tweet or not to tweet. That's the question?
Yeah.
Because all of these channels are fantastic, and I could absolutely make a case for most businesses to have a podcast, whether it be an internal or an external podcast, or to blog, or to use Twitter, or to use Facebook. There's often a way you can find ways to do it, but it's all about what's right for your community, isn't it? And are those people going to be there? And when people look at your podcast, and when they look at your Twitter account, and when they look at your blog, they're really looking, I think, to see, well, what information are you able to share, and do we quickly get an assessment of what, for example, Geek News is all about, and what Todd believes in and what he stands for? Or if they look at my account, am I consistent? Am I in conversation, but am I also sharing useful tips? And there was an interesting conversation that went on here in terms of earlier on, it was late last week, and I don't know if you know Bob Berg. He's a terrific guy. You'll find one of his really excellent books is called Endless Referrals. Many of us get business through networks and referrals, and that's a book he wrote several years ago, but you'll also find him on Twitter. And there was a conversation that was going on at a networking event here in Ireland late last week, and one of the questions that was going on around that was people didn't understand his philosophy in his new book. It's called The Go-Giver, about giving useful resources and tips and so on. Because whether people listen to your podcast, or let's say the one we do with the Podcast Sisters, or some of my own podcasts, I think most of us try to create valuable content, and some people will come away and will look to that content and actually be able to go away and implement from the ideas that you've shared. And the same with Twitter. You can put, links back to perhaps articles you've written or your podcasts, but actually not have to be over promotional. You can also promote other people's resources. So, I've tweeted late last night and early this morning about some of the things that you guys have been doing and Blueberry's doing and so on. It doesn't mean to say that, I'm not providing value to my community. It's not always about, so to speak, pimping your own product. So I think that you're right, that there is that fine balance in terms of being conversational and helpful. And something like Blueberry being there for customer service. I mean, I noticed that's one of the things that you guys do really well in Twitter, is that you're picking up if people have got questions and how to help people as well. So, but it's not necessarily right for every business.
That's true. And we also have, I basically put in some policies internally. We have a evangelist that runs our Blueberry Twitter account, and we kind of did put in some publishing policies, basically saying, okay, we have to, even though if someone asks us a direct question, obviously we always respond, but there's times like last week, one of our competitors was having serious problems, and we didn't say anything. We kept out of the conversation for 4 days, and at day 5 those individuals were still having trouble and becoming desperate, and then was when we kind of stepped in and say, hey, if you need some help, we can help you out. And we basically said, okay, we'll help you get back online for the time being until your service provider comes back online, and when it does, you can make a decision where you want to stay. And then that was, for us, was I would say, for using Twitter probably was our most direct affront that we had went against a competitor, but our approach, and it's always been our approach, is not to it was to help, and we wanted to help the folks get online. We offered them up a free account for 30 days if they got back online. In the meantime, on their old service, we didn't there was no tie-ins, no credit cards asked for. We just were trying to help them get back online. And while we helped a number of shows get back online, a couple of them moved back over now that company's resolved their issues. And basically, we kind of used it as we're a company that cares, and that's the way we operate, and it falls in within our company philosophy. And but at the same time, there's other times that we say, okay, we have to be careful on how much we're pimping a product that we have within that Twitter account. So yeah, it's a fine line. It really, really is. And I know that me personally, I have a couple of Twitter accounts that I never post to, but I follow specific people for a specific topicality that I want to learn about. But at the same time, I don't want to have all the other noise that goes on in my account that I have for a general following. So I'm sure a lot of people have multiple accounts like that, many that they probably never even admit that they own, and follow specific people for maybe even business intelligence or, I do stuff, collect information for my show content from a select group of people, and that has a tendency to work out real well because I find links from other folks I would not have found otherwise, whether or not been from Twitter or from RSS feeds.
Well, I think there's a couple of things that strike me when you were talking there. One was I heard about what you were doing in terms of supporting people who'd podcasts had, were having some problems. But actually, one of the things that, in fact, where I heard about it first was in the newsletter. And I think that was a really interesting integration that you had. So, for example, be it Twitter or Facebook, or having a blog or having a podcast, I still think that other forms of communication, such as a newsletter, are really important, and how to integrate those back there. And in fact, I saw that offer in your newsletter, and I thought the way that you did it was really well, because it was supporting people who were having a problem. Those of us who've got podcasts, if something goes wrong technically, maybe there's a few people like me. I mean, you are absolutely geeky.
Right.
Yeah, you know all the stuff, and you and Angelo and the team are fantastic in terms of supporting people. People like me, I know about a little bit about communication, and hopefully about bringing great content from fantastic speakers who come and join me in terms of in my community. And I hope I spur on and encourage participation and conversation and get people thinking and bring people resources through the network that I've developed. But, the people like me, if that had happened, I wouldn't even know where to start. Yes, there was a problem with that particular service. It's like, where do you turn to? What do you do? And so I think stepping in to be able to offer something to that community was fantastic. And the fact that you did it through your newsletter, so that's how I found out there was a problem, because I was reading your newsletter this week and saw that you were offering support there to that particular group of people. And that's all about building relationships, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's really what Twitter is trying to encourage us to do. And and for me, that network is a network for life. And sometimes when you might not think it, Todd, but I feel like you're kind of a close buddy, because I listen to you.
Yep.
And I read your stuff, and I look at your newsletters, and you're part of my life, and you're somebody who I'll refer on to other people, and that's just because we're actually using all of these different media to build relationships, which I think is really cool. Can I ask you then about your podcast policy, your Twitter policy then?
Yeah.
The kind of things that you would have in your organization about what to tweet and what not to tweet about, because I know a lot of organizations are concerned about, well, who tweets and what's appropriate to tweet, and if there's a discussion going on, let's say, for example, you were that company that had some problems, how do you respond to that negative feedback that you might be getting if you're on Twitter?
Well, we try to be very careful to talk about competitors. It's a very fine line between being a predator and trying to help. And the last thing we want to be is a predator. And I guess that's, the philosophy is, our company philosophy is to help and provide good tools for content creators. That's our complete philosophy, is to create and provide good tools. And also, as an option, offer monetization opportunities and so forth. So when it comes to Twitter, never ever talk negatively about a company. Never ever point out some other company's press release, positive and negative. Never talk about a company's financial reports publicly or negatively. Especially on the competitor side, because it's a very small community and a small group of companies. We all know each other, and at some point down the road, we can all fight for all these customers. But at this point, all these companies, we need to work together for the better good of the entire podcasting space. If a company goes out, it's only bad for everyone. My goal is that the folks over at Media get bought out for $1 billion. I hope they get bought out for a big sum of cash, because it only can be good for the rest of the companies in the space. If they go out of business, or another company goes out of business, and I'm not saying that they would, but as a hypothetical, it would be bad overall for everyone. So we want to continue as a company to be supportive of other companies, help podcasters wherever we can, and we think in the long run, our strategy of being there and building good tools and helping us will help us win customers over by what we provide to the podcaster in the end. So it flows back into our Twitter policy. If we're seeing if someone's having a problem with a plugin, hey, we're suggested, hey, we've got a plugin currently actively maintained, but at the same time, we don't bash the plugin and say, hey, you better get off there because you might be in for a surprise here soon. We don't say nothing like that, because that would not be being constructive, and it would probably go against more of our philosophy. So I think it's not a complicated thing. It's, if you are standing in, I guess the way I tell Rob, and Rob is our community evangelist, is I tell Rob, would you say to a person's face at that company what you would write on Twitter? If you would, then it's probably okay. But if you would feel squeamish saying that in front of that company employee, it's probably not a good thing to say. And many times we will reach out, like when Podango went down in January. It had a devastating effect to a lot of shows. And we really didn't have anything in place to help move shows immediately, because it happened so fast within a 3-day period. They said, we're going down. 3 days later, they were gone. And thousands of podcasters' media was gone forever if they didn't have it on a backup. But we tried to help those that we could. And we actually, initially, before we ever reached out to the podcasters, we called Podango. Said, do you need help? Do you need servers? What can we do to help you stay online? Because we understood that their failure would have a greater impact on the greater good of the entire community. We didn't care about the competitive nature at that point. When they said, no, it's a final, there's nothing you can do, would you like to buy us? That really was the sign to us that we could go out and try to help their community members and not feel guilty about offering up free hosting, helping them to transfer over. So, I guess it's a good neighbor policy. I don't know if that's, some people in business would say that's probably nuts to do that. Go for the juggler from the very beginning. But I guess it's just not the way we work. And we're a very small company, and the team members have all, everything we do, we try to do to benefit the media creators, and we take media creators and put on. If we look like we're being a predator, then it's not going to bode well for us in a long time, because they're going to say, did you see what Blueberry was doing? Did you see them going over there and, being an ambulance chaser? That's the last thing that I ever want anyone to think about our company. That could be that's worse than a year's worth of profitability to someone come and tell us that you guys are ambulance chasers. That would be devastating. So, that I guess it kind of boils down to how, it boils into our Twitter philosophy.
It's interesting when you were talking then about not being able, or would you say this to somebody if they were in front of you? Because I do think there are many people online who perhaps, even if they go out with their own name, or perhaps they've got a pseudonym that they're using, they often feel the comfort of being behind a screen. And I think that's a really helpful approach in terms of saying, what does your brand stand for? And when people meet you, whether they meet you through your podcast, through your blog, through your video podcasts, through your tweets, through Facebook, are you authentic? And I don't really like that word because I think it's often used, but are you congruent with what your beliefs are? And I often ask a question when people come to meet me, and let's say we've met in a coffee bar or we've met at a workshop or whatever it might be. What's the, when you read my content online or you listen to my podcasts, am I the same person that you meet face to face?
Right.
And I want an absolute yes to that.
Yeah, me too.
Because I have some policies around, I hope that you won't really find me putting any content out there that would not be supportive of people. If I can't say something, that's fair and I'm not saying it has to be motherhood and apple pie
right.
and always positive, but why go after a negative stance on things? You can offer suggestions about how things might want to be done differently, but I like the approach that you took there in terms of you picked up the phone and you talked to the company in terms of at the beginning of the year. And again, I've seen that with brands, and I'll send them a direct message on Twitter, or I'll pick up the phone, or I'll drop them an email to say, hey, are you aware of this? Because Ireland is an even smaller community. I guess it's a bit like Hawaii, although you have much better weather.
Well, in Hawaii, doing business in Hawaii is very unique. And I know we're almost out of time for this segment. This is fascinating discussion. In Hawaii, it's about the introduction. If you don't have the introduction, you're not doing business in Hawaii. And I'll tell a little short story, and then we're going to have Erkan from Australia. In Hawaii, there was a Twitter gal, and I'm not going to say her name on the show here. She has over 80,000 Twitter followers. She got those Twitter followers through dubious methods. And she won some awards, and there was an air of, okay, is this person real? Is what she's saying real, or is it a, what you see is not what you get type of deal? And some things came out, some very shocking things involving criminal charges, having been to court and found guilty for stealing money from organizations. It was bad. And, there was no way that I wanted to have my name associated with this individual at any level. And there was quite a campaign by a huge number of the social media community here to inform her followers on Twitter, do you know who you're following? And today, she has more Twitter followers than ever. She's making more comments and connections. Yet, if I had $1 on the table and she was in a room, I'd expect $1 to be missing after it was all over. And so you don't know who you can trust on the internet. So it's very difficult for me now when I look at individuals that are on Twitter. I'm kind of gun shy based upon, do we really know who this person is? And I think what it takes is someone that has been online for multiple years, build up a reputation, have real tangible relationships with companies and businesses, and get recommendations and have a public history before I can really say, that's maybe someone I can trust doing business with or having, maybe it's a little not as extreme as that, but it's a dilemma that's out there on the internet right now. And in Hawaii, she's done. She will do no business in Hawaii. None. There's no way she will do any business here. It's because of this internal network. And then we're in a big or small island with a couple million people, but it's still a very small world. It really, really is. So,
well, I guess we're at the end of our half hour now, Todd. Thank you so much for putting the show together, and I think you look amazing for being in the middle of the night for your time. At least I've had some sleep.
Why don't you make sure you tell everyone the main site for you to check out, and so you can send people over that way.
Yeah, thanks so much. You'll find me online at bizgrowthnews.com.
bizgrowthnews.com. That's a great domain name. I bet you get a lot of traffic from Google. That is bizgrowthname.com. That's good. Very good. Bizgrowthnews.com. So I'm getting punchy here. It's getting late. Thanks for tuning in, and hope you hang out with us a little more. I've got Irk coming up, so I'm going to have to free up a Skype line. So I see the Pluggets guys are still down there. You guys are still hanging. How you guys doing?
Yep. Yeah. We're doing great. We're loving it. Great insight there for BizGrowth. So we put the link into the chat room and Ustream, so you guys can check that out. We're chilling. We're liking this.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So,
well, thank you, and say hello to Irk for me. He's been on the podcast sisters too, so I think you'll be in for a great ride, so to speak, with him, because if you know what his background is, that will make a lot of sense. But let me tune out and let Irk in here.
All right, thanks so much. And folks, what I'm going to do is I need to once again, we're at that point where I need to recycle everything, and we'll wait for Irk. GNC Pod 1 is open for you. So I know you're watching. Go ahead and bounce in, and let me go ahead and save the recordings here.
While you're doing that, Todd, I want to point out that somebody in the chat room made a donation during that last half hour.
Okay, I'll definitely check that out. We'll go back over and look. See, we're in segment. This is hour number. Oh man, we only have 6 hours, 5 hours and 30 minutes to go. Beautiful.
That's all.
Oh no. I say we do it 48 hours. Come on.
Yeah.
That'll be all you.
Okay, so who did we have on in the last hour? We had BizGrowth.
I think.
How's that?
Hey, Irk, I don't see the video yet, but we'll let you get up on there in a second.
G'day, Todd. How you going?
Good morning. How are you? Actually, it's mid-afternoon for you, yeah?
Good evening, Todd.
It's actually evening, Todd.
Oh, it's evening for you.
9:30 p.m. on Sunday, mate. More to the point, how are you going?
I'm doing good. I'm actually doing a cycling of all the video stuff here, so give me just a second. I'll be with you. And I gotta write these show notes, and it seems as we're going on later on the show, it's taking me a little longer to type this in because the brain is still working, but it's not quite as engaged as it was. Hey, I do think we're getting a little bit of feedback somewhere. I'm not sure where that's coming from. I'm hearing a little buzz in the background.